If you've ever promised yourself, this time will be different, only to fall off track a few days later and spiral into that guilt, shame, and frustration, then here are the 5 reasons you continue to self-sabotage your follow-through, even though it cuts deeper into wounds that you never let heal. You know exactly what you want to do. You have plans to change the behavior that hurts you day in and day out. But tomorrow comes and you make the decision to say, not today. You make the decision to cause yourself more pain. And you validate the inner voice that says you'll never be good enough. Why? I remember how lost I felt when I had all of these goals and ideas about who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up to the world. And just like you, I continued to let myself down. And I heard the same voice in my head that had been with me for my entire life, saying that no matter what, I would never change. But make no mistake, I showed up when it counted. I was the perfect employee, always showing up early, going above and beyond. I easily applied my skills when I had the lines to color in. But when it came to the unscripted moments alone, the time that decided exactly who I was and what kind of person I wanted to be, I would rather sit and internally scream at myself than relieve the pain of getting up and acting. I used to think I just needed more discipline. Every time I fell off track, I'd double down and push harder, and then I'd burn out completely. But the truth was, it was never about the habits. It was never about me being disciplined or not. It was about the patterns underneath that behavior. It got to a point where I felt like I was shouting into the void, wanting to know if anyone knew what I was going through, but no one ever answered. So I decided I had to be that person. I could not keep living like this. There was no point if this is what life was like. No amount of love, talent, creativity, or purpose is worth it if you can't win that battle with yourself. I understand how you're feeling, and I know that it's really scary to admit those things out loud, but I'm proof that it's possible to cross that void into whatever else is waiting for you on the other side. That version of you, the one who does follow through, the one that does fulfill their goals, the one that does show up to the world as the best version of themselves. I dedicated myself to learning what is actually happening when we self-sabotage our own efforts despite the pain it causes. I spent 3 months interviewing women just like myself who had all of these ideas about who they wanted to be and yet procrastinated all their efforts away. I didn't know it back then, but there are actually 5 identifiable reasons why we do this to ourselves. By the end of the video, you'll have the answers to what's really going on and the closure so you know what to do about it. Hi, I'm Anna, founder of the Intrinsic North Star, where I help other ambitious individuals break free from these self-sabotaging behaviors like perfectionism, procrastination, and burnout. Subscribe for true closure on why these patterns exist and a helping hand to be there when you feel more alone than ever. This work allowed me to reclaim my own emotional freedom, intrinsic motivation, and purpose, and that's now what I want to help others do as well. You're not broken for being unable to follow through on your goals, but it's up to you to take accountability. Have you ever missed a day of whatever habit you're trying to perfect and then fallen into the story of, I always do this, or what's wrong with me? The problem isn't missing a day, it's the identity that we attach to it. When you fall off track, you're seeing it as proof that you're fundamentally failing. That missed day turns into a verdict on your character because somewhere along the line, you learned that perfection is success and anything less than that is failure. You were praised when you overachieved, criticized when you slipped, and punished when you weren't perfect enough. So now every missed step isn't just that. Not only are you failing at the task altogether, but you're failing as a person. That's the shame loop, and it's not a motivation issue. It's a wound, a pattern. And the more you try to discipline your way out of it, the deeper it digs in. But that voice is not a fact, it's a memory. It's echoing old beliefs that were never yours to carry. When we make these ultimatums with ourselves, like, okay, I'm finally gonna change tomorrow, I'm gonna finish the to-do list, I'm gonna do all my habits, all the wellness things that I've been wanting to do, you're making subconscious connections that say, I've never done it before. Before now, I've been a failure, but this is when it's going to be different. And when that day comes, because you don't have a healthy foundation from which to pursue these things, you keep slipping. And instead of being able to take it on the chin and just try again the next day, it turns into a verdict on who you are. It turns into proof that you're not capable of change. But it's not just shame, it's what we do next that makes it worse. How many times have you said, well, I already messed up, I'll just try again on Monday? This perfection or nothing mindset is seductive. It gives us an out, a reason not to have to put in the work right now. Because in some future world, we're going to be capable, we're going to have the motivation, we're going to have the will to be able to sit down and do the thing. But ask yourself this: what makes Monday different than today? This showed up for me all the time when I was building my own school schedule, because I was tying my worth and my identity to the amount of time I studied as opposed to prioritizing what really mattered, like learning the material. So let's say I plan to study subject A 30 minutes a day. No care in the world about how good I became at subject A, just if I was able to tick off the box, because I should be able to do what I said I was going to do, right? Let's say on Monday I do 30 minutes, I do 30 minutes again on Tuesday, and then I start to slip on Wednesday and I just don't have the energy. I spend all of Wednesday feeling guilty, and then Thursday I don't even try because I've proven myself right again. Then I would say I'll just do it Monday. I'll get better then. Now, if I cared about what really mattered, about actually studying the subject, then even if I could do 5 minutes here and there, then I would be moving forward. But my only metric for moving forward was all or nothing, 0 or 30 minutes. If I didn't do those 30 minutes, then I had failed that day. Nothing is gonna change on Monday because the metrics from which you're judging all of this are skewed. This binary mindset turns detours into full-on collapses. You're restarting constantly, and so of course you're gonna burn out. But underneath that is something deeper. It's not just what we expect from ourselves, it's how we see ourselves. If you're nodding along and realizing that your habits aren't the problem, your emotional patterns are, this is exactly the kind of work that I help my clients do inside my program. Book a free call below and let's map out a sustainable strategy that works with you, not against you. The link is in the description. When I was at my lowest, even when I wanted to show up, there was always this voice on the inside saying, but you're not that kind of person, are you? You're not the kind of person that shows up. You're not the kind of person that follows through. Your entire life leading up until this point has been about letting yourself down. When our self-image doesn't align with our goals, then we are inherently self-sabotaging every time we expect ourselves to move toward that goal. Our identities are constantly conflicting. You want to be consistent, but you don't feel worthy or capable. You want to be the person who does the thing, but you've always heard people tell you that you're lazy and incapable. Fake it until you make it is about outward confidence, and it's not going to do you any favors in this type of situation. It might sound casual, like you're just naming a pattern. Oh, I'm the kind of person that gets really excited about something and then I give up when it gets hard. But those statements reveal something much deeper. It's an identity that you've internalized. Maybe you want to build better habits. You want to be someone who follows through. You wouldn't be here if that wasn't true. But deep down, you believe you're chaotic, inconsistent, incapable. And so every time you try to create structure, you bump up against that identity. You aren't responding to the task when you avoid. You're responding to the threat of becoming someone new, someone that challenges these deeply held self-concepts. And so that subconscious friction sounds like, why even try? You know how this ends. This just isn't who you are. You'll embarrass yourself if you try to prove to everyone else that you're different. So you avoid, you self-sabotage, you drift back to old patterns. Not because you don't care, but because consistency feels incompatible with who you believe you are. You're not resisting the habit, you're resisting the identity that it threatens to rewrite. And it gets even trickier because you're not a robot. There are emotions involved in this. Because let's say you get away from the self-concepts. You do the math in your head and you're like, no, this is genuinely who I want to be. I'm not that person anymore. Let's make a change. But subconsciously, you're expecting uncomfortable emotions to come with that task. If you have a history of not following through on a certain habit, then a certain level of discomfort is going to be tied to it. A fear of failure, a fear of vulnerability, a fear of exposure. Let's go back to the school example. I really cared about my schoolwork, but I had this history of all or nothing thinking, so I would be avoiding the work that I needed to be doing. So let's say I got over the all or nothing thinking part. I got over it's 30 minutes or 0 minutes. And I was able to actually put in 5 minutes every now and then and make baby steps forward. But now I'm bumping up against all of the discomfort associated with that task. The shame, the guilt, the frustration, the sense of wasted time. So doing those tasks are bringing up emotions you've never prepared yourself to face. Maybe your creative habit is bringing up imposter syndrome. That voice saying, you're not good enough, who do you think you are? Or your fitness routine brings up a lifetime of body shaming. Or sitting down to plan your business brings up a fear of failure. Or having to confront how long you felt behind in life. So instead, you scroll, you tidy, you delay, and the longer you delay, the heavier it feels. It's a protective strategy. Your brain is trying to keep you emotionally safe from that discomfort, even if that's the very thing keeping you stuck. And then if your motivation is built on guilt, even your most meaningful habits can backfire. And by this, I mean starting a habit because you should. You should be journaling more. You should be exercising more. Should be eating healthier. The idea sounds nice in theory, but when it comes down to it, it feels like a chore. These should habits are rooted in guilt, not internal desire, intrinsic motivation. They're based on external expectations, society's definition of productivity, someone else's idea of success, or someone else's expectations of you, or any expectations you've internalized over the years from school or your parental figures. They're all about what you should do, not about what you really value or care about. You can push yourself to start, but then you have nothing to run on. It's exhausting and unsustainable. Over time, these types of habits are going to leave you feeling drained, resentful, like you're not doing enough, no matter how much work you put in. Because most of the time, you're never actually able to get started. So instead, you're just left with guilt. You're just left with shame and another piece of proof that you're unable to follow through when you say you will. So if you've been caught in this cycle, trying harder, falling off track, blaming yourself, and then starting over in shame, it's not because you're lazy or undisciplined. It's because no one taught you to build habits from self-respect, not self-punishment. So let's zoom out for a second. Falling off track isn't failure. It's a moment asking for repair. Motivation isn't as elusive as you've been led to believe. It's hiding under the emotional weight you've never been taught to process. And habits don't need to be perfect. They need to be livable. You don't need a perfect streak. You need a compassionate way back in. You don't need to prove yourself. You just need to remember who you are and what matters to you. Or maybe you need to figure out who you are and figure out what matters to you for the first time. That's the real shift, and it starts with letting go of the story that consistency is perfection and stepping into a new one where consistency means returning with care. You don't need to have all the answers today. You just need to know this. You're allowed to begin again. Starting small still counts, not behind, you're arriving. So the question becomes, where do I go from here? You don't need a complete overhaul. You just need one honest moment with yourself, one small habit you've been avoiding, one emotion you've been avoiding. Start there. What's one kind, doable step I can take right now, even if it's tiny? And how does this reflect the version of me that I'm becoming, not the version I'm trying to impress or punish? This is your now and next. Not another sprint, not another punishment loop, but a path forward built on clarity and consistency that's human, not heroic, not ideal. We'll get to that best version of yourself, but it's not 0 to 100. If that's one thing you take away from this, you are capable of getting there. I got there, but I didn't cross that void in one day. That's the story you get to live now. And it starts not someday, but today with one gentle decision. If you're ready to start building habits that align with your mind and with your struggles, not against them, I created a free self-discovery workbook to help you identify the patterns that are keeping you stuck and how to shift through them with clarity and self-trust. Download it below and take the first step toward building real sustainable momentum. No shame, no perfectionism, but progress that you can actually rely on. I'm living proof that there's something waiting for you on the other side. You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to get in motion with compassion leading the way. And as always, stay in this corner of the internet as long as you need.